Selling Superman just came out, and I can give you the quick premise if you want. Yeah, so a hidden family secret. That's what grabbed me. Is like, oh my gosh, there's this hidden family secret. For 40 years, the family kept it secret. Of 300,000 comic books, taking up 5 rooms in the house, and a Superman #1, valued at probably $3.5 million. It's one of the top 3 Superman books in the world. And so, what's he going to do with it? Is he going to sell it, etc.? And I found that fascinating, especially how the value get this high? Why do we value these things? What's going on? But then the subterraneous, the underbelly of the family portrait, and the stress and the anxiety and the trauma that this whole collection actually created started to surface. And that's what it became more like the real story, I would have to say, that makes it really accessible for every human and not just comic book collectors at all.
Yeah. The comic book world was fascinating, and I only watched the first 2 of the 4 because I didn't want to spoil the ending and allude, because I still have that tension right now, is he going to sell it or is he not,
Right.
And and it, meaning this whole collection, but the top 2, the Batman and the Superman.
There's a Batman 1.
There's a Batman 1 too.
8.0. And the grade is important, meaning how fine, how perfect is it. Mm-hmm. So the Superman's really, really good shape from 1939. And the Batman's also incredible shape. So that's over $1 million book too. Yeah.
And these are fanatics. I mean, people that own comic books are fanatics. So that's just a culture in itself that's interesting to watch. Yeah. I don't know why this is not on Netflix right now. Just the comic book, sorry, for lack of a better word, guys, you are nerds out there. I say that in the most loving way.
People love it's an enduring term. We're nerds. Yeah.
You guys are nerds.
The comic nerds, yeah.
But it's an awesome nerdation, because it's so fascinating. And I nerd out on lots of things, so I'm it's not an offensive term, but just the comic book collecting audience should be enough to have it on Netflix.
Absolutely, because it's huge. The hobby is huge. People might not realize that, but the hobby is immense. I mean, that's why Comic-Con can be so big.
Yeah, totally. So for all, anyone out there with the idea that saw Heel and is like, God, I want to make a film. I have this thing I'm passionate about. How did Selling Superman come? Why did you decide to pursue that story?
Yeah, I didn't exactly. I was planning on doing some other things. We were basically fresh out of COVID, and I was like, I'm ready to get back to being out in the field and make films again. And then Darren gave me a call. And Darren's the main character, and we went to high school together. He's a couple years younger, so we played soccer together. And the bonds from soccer. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter what age, the younger guy, and I was the captain. So we knew each other, and here we are 25, 30 years later. I get, what's the reality? Yeah, 30 years later. Yeah. And he calls up and says, hey, you didn't know this about my family, but this is what was going on. And I didn't. And I knew his father, had no idea of the Asperger's, no idea of the collection. They really did keep it a secret. So I was blown away, first of all, that a book could be that much money. I still don't believe it. I think it's just a little out of touch. Something's wrong with society that we're paying $3 million for a comic book. But I love the space now, and I love the community. So that's how it came to me. I said, okay, let me come on Thanksgiving before your old house sells, and I'll film there alone just to see if you guys are good on camera, because you never know, right? It could be a great story, but they just lock up and don't talk. And wow, they were so expressive. The whole first episode, a lot of it is just me alone in the old house there. That's me alone. You've seen episode 1. Yeah. And it's grittier, right? But it has that insider access, and we're going through the old house and retelling what happened there and what rooms. And so after that first November in 2021, so it's been 3 years now I've been with this project, that's when it was like, okay, this is a film. I thought a film at the time, and then it just evolved into a 4-part doc. Yeah. And
I love kind of when I first saw the opening, I was like, why is he starting it like this? We need to get into the comic books and the thing, but you started it with Darren having second thoughts. 2 years into the project about doing this thing and exposing his dad and his life and this secret they had kept forever. And do you sell it? Is he selling his dad's soul? You see this emotional struggle and doubt and almost mental breakdown of this man who has been carrying this burden his whole life, first in the relationship with his father or the anti-relationship with his father, because his father was obsessive and on the spectrum and very kind of emotionally cut off and obsessive. And and Darren is like such a like lovable, open-hearted guy that just wants love, you know?
Yeah.
It's such a wild human story through this comic book lens.
So what's the question here?
The question is, kudos to you for starting off the film that way.
Oh, with the kind of the pain of it.
The pain of like, so now I'm on the journey of like, is he going to sell it or is he not?
Yeah. And that is like the main driving hook, if you will, right? The outward hook of will he sell it or not? But I loved starting with people knowing early on that there's a emotional pain that we're gonna get to, but we'll build back up to it. Like, you guys need to know the context of the family and of comic book lore and how it got that way and how Darren built out his whole fortress and all that. You know, I always thought that's my Ocean's 11 moment when he's building out the fortress and you know, who's the team and how they build this thing.
Yes, cool.
His dad just had it in boxes covered with sheets in a house. And then Darren's like, this has to be in climate control. This has to be in shipping containers and really cool. But I definitely did want to start with the future, you know, of what happens, meaning there is a big sale and the press comes out and it freaks Darren out. And I thought he was joking. Like, we start with some text messages. We start with some press of that and then some text messages where he's like, you got to stop the press. And I'm just like, what do you mean? I can't stop press. Like, no one can stop press. Once it's going, it's going. And I said, yeah, you're kidding. He's like, no, I'm not kidding. And he really wanted to stop the film, wanted to stop the press, and was really upset of why am I showing the world how messed up I am? Because it's really vulnerable, right? I mean, you do it a lot on your podcasts, right? You show the world with people experts or in your solos, but he's not used to that.
Well, I'm not either. I had like a full mental breakdown this morning, and I think it was this residual angst of like releasing this vulnerable episode yesterday, and I woke up this morning, I'm like, something is wrong. Like, I'm just like, it's just human being vulnerable. You feel is like a death, you know. I totally relate to him.
Sure, you have to take the mask off.
Yeah.
What you want, you know, Darren, like all of us, want the people to see us in a certain way, and then you're like, oh, but this is also going on, and it's like.
Scary.
And then, but it does become lovable. Like you said, Darren has a good heart. It becomes lovable, the authenticity part. It's like, yeah, I'm human, guys. Like, I'm a perfectionist. Right? And he's a perfectionist. And I know it's hard for him. I know it is, right? But, you know, kudos to him. He had the courage to stick it out. I mean, you know that because the film exists, right? But it starts with like, oh, shut this film down.
Yeah. No, it's really good. Thank you for listening to the Heal with Kelly podcast. Be sure to tune in every Thursday for more empowering wisdom and inspiring healing stories. And make sure you hit the follow button on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss that one episode that holds the answer you've been searching for. Oh, and if you found this episode inspiring, please rate, review, and share Heal with Kelly so that we can grow our audience and reach more people. We truly appreciate it. Lots of love.